What would you do if you had only one meal left to your name and a total stranger asked you to share it? Most of us speak about kindness when our pockets are full and our stomachs are satisfied. But true character, the kind that changes the world, is only revealed when we have absolutely nothing left to give, yet we choose to give anyway. Today, I want to tell you the story of a young boy named Aryan. He owned nothing but the rags on his back and a single small loaf of bread. But what he did with that bread created a ripple that touched thousands of lives. If you've ever felt like you don't have enough to make a difference, you need to listen to this story until the very end. Aryan lived in a city of tall buildings and very short memories. It was a place where people in expensive suits hurried past people in tattered clothes without ever making eye contact. Aryan was one of the invisible ones. At just 12 years old, he spent his days scouring the market for odd jobs, carrying heavy crates, sweeping dust from shop fronts, or finding lost items for a few coins. It was a bitter, gray winter, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones and stays there. For 3 days, Aryan hadn't earned a single cent. He had watched people buy hot meat pies and steaming bowls of soup, the scent mocking his empty stomach. On the fourth morning, a miracle happened. An old baker, seeing the boy shivering outside his window, beckoned him in. He handed Aryan a small, round loaf of bread. It was warm. It smelled of yeast and hope. "This is for you, son. Eat it well." Aryan clutched the bread to his chest. He could feel the warmth through his thin shirt. To him, this wasn't just food. It was a prize. It was his survival. He ran to a quiet corner of the park near an old leafless oak tree, wanting to savor every single crumb in peace. As Aryan sat down on a frost-covered bench, he noticed someone he hadn't seen before. Sitting on the frozen ground, leaned against the roots of the tree, was an old man. The man looked like he had been forgotten by time itself. His coat was thin, his boots were held together by string, and his hands were shaking so violently he could barely keep them in his pockets. But it was his eyes that stopped Aryan. They weren't begging, they were just empty. It was the look of someone who had reached the end of their strength. Aryan looked at his bread. His stomach gave a sharp, painful growl, reminding him that he hadn't eaten in nearly 80 hours. He imagined the taste of the soft middle and the crunch of the crust. He deserved this bread. He had worked for it. He had waited for it. He took a breath to take his first bite. But then he heard a sound. A small, weak cough from the old man. Aryan froze. He looked at the bread, then at the man. A battle began inside him. A voice in his head said, "If you give him this, you might not eat again for days. You are a child. You need this to grow. He is old. He's had his time." But another voice, the voice of his late mother, whispered in his heart, "A stomach can be filled with food, Aryan, but a soul is only filled by what it gives away." Aryan stood up. His legs felt heavy, and his hunger made him dizzy. He walked over to the old man. The man didn't look up. He seemed to be staring at a world that wasn't there anymore. "Sir?" Aryan said softly. The old man slowly lifted his head. His blue eyes were clouded. Aryan didn't say another word. He took the warm loaf of bread, and with a clean snap, he broke it exactly in half. He reached out and placed the larger half into the old man's shaking hands. The man stared at the bread as if it were a heap of diamonds. He looked at Aryan, his lips trembling. "Why?" he whispered. "You are just a boy. You are hungry too." Aryan sat down in the dirt next to him. He took a small bite of his own half, feeling the warmth spread through him. "Because, sir," Aryan said, "bread tastes better when 2 people are eating it." They sat there in the freezing park, a homeless boy and a forgotten stranger, sharing a meal in silence. For those 10 minutes, the cold didn't seem so sharp. The gray sky didn't seem so heavy. As they finished, the old man reached into his tattered pocket. He pulled out a small, rusted iron key. He handed it to Aryan. I have no money to give you, and I have no food, but I have spent my life guarding a library in the basement of that old building across the street. It is filled with books that no one wants anymore. But in those books, there is knowledge. There is a way out of this life. Take the key. Go there at night. Read. Learn. That is the only bread that will keep you full forever. Aryan took the key. He didn't know it then, but that half loaf of bread was the best investment he would ever make. He went to that library every night. He read about engineering, about history, and about the world beyond his city. He taught himself because he had the one thing most people lacked, the hunger to grow. Years later, that poor boy became one of the city's most respected architects. He didn't build skyscrapers for the rich. He built schools, shelters, and libraries. He became a man who ensured that no child in his city ever had to choose between their hunger and their heart. But if you asked Aryan about his success, he wouldn't point to his degrees or his buildings. He would tell you about a cold morning in a park and a half loaf of bread. Friends, we often hold on to what we have because we are afraid. We are afraid that if we give, we will have less. We are afraid that the world is a place of me versus you. But the law of the universe is different. When you give from a place of lack, you aren't losing, you are planting. Kindness is the only thing in this world that doubles when you divide it. You might not have a lot of money today, you might not have power or influence, but you have bread. Maybe your bread is a kind word to someone who feels invisible. Maybe it's 5 minutes of your time to listen to a friend who is hurting. Maybe it's sharing a small opportunity with someone who has none. Don't wait until you are rich to be generous. If you aren't generous when you have a little, you will never be generous when you have a lot. Look around you today. Who is sitting under the leafless tree in your life? Who is waiting for a sign that the world hasn't forgotten them? Break your bread. Share your light, because you never know. The person you help today might be the one who hands you the key to your own future tomorrow. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who might be going through a hard time. And tell me in the comments, what is one small act of kindness someone did for you when you least expected it? Remember, you are never too poor to give, and you are never too small to change a life. I'll see you in the next story.